Alright, what's up guys? I'm finally back and I finally got the parts for the brake booster for the E30. So I'm going to show you guys the parts that I ordered, and this is what took 3 weeks to get here, but this is going to help out a lot with the whole process of installing this brake booster. So in this kit you get these brackets which pretty much mount this bracket right here. Yeah, both brackets, whatever, but this pretty much mounts the bracket for the brake booster, and it's pretty cool because it says like V8 BMW on it, and you're going to be able to see that from the top. You just got to bend this over and weld this onto the engine bay, and then you can bolt it on to this. This is like the bottom part of it, and then this one goes on the firewall. You can just bolt this one down. All this stuff is pretty easy to make. Most importantly, I bought this kit because of the push rod, and they don't really sell this separately, so you pretty much have to buy the whole kit. But all this stuff is pretty easy to fabricate, just with like measurements and stuff. You just buy some steel at like Home Depot or something, and you can easily cut this out. But since it comes with the entire kit, I just got it. I disassembled the entire remote brake booster, so all I'm left with now is just a bracket for it, and the brake booster and the master cylinder. Took off the master cylinder yesterday just so I can sand this down and just give it a nice little paint, because the clear was fading on it, so I just gave it a little paint job. So that can go back on there, but we're just going to keep the brake booster itself and then just that bracket. No longer going to use the reinforcement bar, whatever you want to call it, or nor that push rod, since pretty much this is going to replace all of that. So in order to fit this brake booster onto the E30, it does sit a little too high for the hood, so we do have to make some cuts in order to make this thing fit. On the instructions it says to cut it right here. I already marked it up where I'm going to cut it, and then on the back side over here we're going to cut it up here on top along the edge and just down right there. So alright, so I just finished cutting the brake booster bracket, and this is pretty much what it should look like once you're done. Cut up on the top, cut on the back, on the bottom, and now we shouldn't have any clearance issues, and should be able to use this little bracket to mount the bottom piece of it. So now I'm going to get this piece and I'm going to go ahead and bend it into like sort of a triangle, and this is pretty much going to be the top bracket for the top portion of the brake booster mount. Alright, so now I'm just going to do some test fitting on the car and just see how much gaps we have and where we need to bend it at, but it's pretty much going to be sitting somewhere around this area right here, so it looks like it's pretty good. You know, we got it closed on this side, closed right here, and then closed on this corner. So we only have these two corners up, so we might need to bend it a little bit more, but these are going to be adjustments that you're going to make at the end once you figure out exactly where the brake booster is going to sit at, and pretty much once we install the rod on the brake pedal and all the other good stuff. So I'm gonna leave this one for the end and just make those adjustments when I figure out where the brake booster is going to sit at. Okay, so I got the brake booster put all back together, got the master cylinder, and I bolted on the bracket as well. And now I'm just doing like a little test fit just to see where this thing's gonna fit at, and it's looking pretty good as far as like clearance. It looks like it's gonna clear the hood and everything, so we should be fine with that. Now I'm gonna get this plaque that's gonna cover the hole for the old brake booster, and then I also notched it down a bit so we have room to put the push rod through this little hole right here, and then this pretty much just goes on top of here, bolt it down, and then you're able to push the rod through it and connected to the brake pedal. I used the E34 automatic brake pedal, and it looks to line up just perfectly with that rod, so it looks like we might not need to do any like custom work or like welding or anything to the stock E30 brake pedal, all you got to do is just replace it with an automatic E34 brake pedal, and I think you should be fine. So right now I'm going to line up everything and just see how it fits, but I test fitted it the other day and it looked like it lined up perfectly, so I don't think there should be an issue. So just replace stock E30 brake pedal with the E34. Automatic, manual, doesn't really matter. I found automatic, so that's what pretty much worked for me. I know it's really close to the clutch pedal as well, but all I'm gonna do is pretty much just get the size of the stock E30 brake pedal, cut that down, and then I'm just gonna put the rubber pad over it, so it's pretty much gonna look like an E30 brake pedal. Okay, so I got the ends off the stock rod that the E34 brake booster came with. You can pretty much just unscrew it off. There's a nut behind it and you can just take it off. And then there's also one that you could find on the stabilizer reinforcement bar. And then you can just put it on each end, just screw them on there, and it's pretty much just ready to install now. So one is gonna go to the brake pedal, and then one is gonna go to the brake booster. Alright, so once you got the rod inside, you just got to connect it to the brake pedal, which is pretty easy, but it's a really tight space to record up there, so I'm just going to show you guys down here. So just imagine the rod going into here. You get this, put it inside the hole, like that. Then you just get this clip, and you just put it on the other end, and it'll secure it together. So it's really simple, but it's just really hard to record up there. Alright guys, so I'm not really sure where I left off in the last clip, but I was kind of having some fitment issues with the brake booster and just like the brackets that I ordered. They're probably not cut to the best size. They weren't really lining up properly, or maybe I was just doing something wrong, but now at this point I'm kind of just doing my own thing, just bending them how they're gonna fit on my car. So what I'm gonna do is just set this thing as far as I can from the engine, because I think that's gonna be the only clearance issue with this. And then I also at the same time line it up with the rod, make sure that it's not like, you know, too high up or something, and then also the clearance behind the headlight, because it is a really tight fit. So I think I'm just gonna put it as far as I can from the engine and just make sure I have clearance all around and just make sure everything is perfect, and then I'll just bend the brackets accordingly and just whatever works to me, because I was following the pictures and they just don't really line up with what I'm doing. So I think I'm just gonna do this thing like however and just see whatever works for me. So let me show you guys what I got going on, that way you guys get a better understanding. Alright, so this is currently where I'm at right now. Just kind of just dealing with the fitment and stuff, and just trying to see where exactly I'm going to place it. That way I can drill down this plaque before I get it welded down, and then we can just bolt everything up and just see how it works. But right now I'm just trying to figure out exactly where this plaque is going to be mounted at. That way I don't drill any more holes than I need to, and then also make sure that I have the clearance behind the headlight, because this knob right here is getting in the way and I'm probably not going to be able to connect the brake line into there. So just want to make sure that I have clearance right here, make sure that this is straight, make sure that the rod is straight as well, because I know it is kind of angled upwards. This bracket right here isn't really lining up that well, so I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get this bracket mounted on. So as you see in the pictures, it shows that it should be mounted somewhere up here, but as you see it's really far off, so I'm going to have to mount it down here and then just kind of bend it enough to where it'll line up with these two holes. But that's gonna be once I figure out where exactly I'm gonna have this mounted at, and just make sure the rod is straight, and then make sure I have clearance back here. So it's a really tight fit, but I'm pretty sure we can make it work. So I'm gonna continue working on this and just see where I can get this thing placed, and then I guess I'll show you guys what I come up with and see where we can actually place this thing. This will be a little difficult, but I think we got it. Okay, so I got the brake booster bolted down now, and I really like how it's sitting right now. Everything looks like it's good, aside from the most important thing. I just don't like how the rod is pushing into the brake booster. It sort of goes up at an angle, and I just don't really like it. The brake pedal feels really good, but I don't know, it just kind of bothers me that it goes up instead of going straight into the brake booster. But everything else, like brake line clearance, it's pretty good. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but one brake line goes inside of there and the other one goes right here, so that's good. The engine clearance looks like it should be pretty good, shouldn't be any problems over here. And the only thing, like I said, is just this push rod. So I'm gonna show you guys how it breaks, and I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how I could fix this, but I'm pretty limited right now because it's a really tight space, and yeah, I can't really do anything else. Maybe bend the rod, but I don't really know about that. So if I push it down like this and we push the brake pedal, it brakes pretty good, but in this case I'm just pushing this down and that doesn't really help it. So trying to figure out what I could do. Alright, so I took out the headlight and I think I figured out what I'm going to do now. So since the rod is going at sort of an angle down that way, I'm pretty much going to angle the brake booster the same way that the rod is going by shaving down the actual bracket of the brake booster. So by taking out the headlight, I should be able to lift it up more from the front, and then I'll just make adjustments to these, like, I think adjustment nozzles for like the headlights, and I think it should be good. We'll probably just have to cut these down a little bit and then I'll just put this back on there, but that shouldn't be an issue. So I'll make the headlight fit after I get the brake booster to where I want it to be. So I'm gonna take this off and grind it down a bit. Alright, so it did get pretty dark outside now, but I've pretty much just been going at this thing all day and just trying to figure out how I can eliminate the rod from being pushed upwards. I tried angling the brake booster by grinding it down. You guys saw that. Didn't work. It would still push up. I just figured that this thing is too long and it just has too much play and it needs some like sort of like reinforcement or like a guide. So I ended up making this bracket right here. It's like 7 inches long by 1 inch wide, and pretty much this is going to get welded on top of here, and it's pretty much going to eliminate the rod from being like pushed upwards, and it has like no choice but to just push straight in. I already tested it. I had somebody hold it while I pushed the brake pedal and it pushed straight into the brake booster, so that's all settled. Got that done. Also bent this bracket a little bit more in just to have more clearance from the engine, so this thing's a little bit further. I did bend this bracket a little bit more and it's pretty much lined up where it's supposed to be. I'm just gonna run a spacer in between there and just cut it to size and make it look really good, and that should bolt right up. I'm gonna get all this stuff welded really soon. I just need to find somebody that could weld it for me. Now the next thing to do is gonna be running the brake lines. There's two that come over here to the master cylinder, and the old ones used to be over here on the stock E30 brake booster, so I gotta extend those brake lines to come over here, and then also move the ABS lines over there to the battery tray, since the ABS is going to go over there. It used to be in this corner, so pretty much all of these brake lines right here are going to go over there, and I'm probably going to have to extend them, so I'm just probably going to use like a joint on them and see if that will work. If not, then I'll just replace all of them. I already got brand new brake lines, so yeah, that's going to go over there, and that's pretty much it. Just need to get that stuff welded, put the brake lines, and the entire brake system is complete. Alright, so that's the brake booster install. Finally got this thing on the car, guys. It took me legit like 2 days just to figure out exactly how I want the brake booster to mount. You know, it's a really tight fit behind the headlight. You got to make sure you have clearance for the engine. You got to make sure that the rod is pushing good. So it's literally a lot of just trial and error, and then just bending the metals, making sure that they're perfect, and just making sure you have clearance all around. Like, clearance is the biggest issue with this swap, but everything looks like it's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna get these brackets welded as soon as possible. I'm trying to get everything done by Monday. That way I can just run all the brake lines to the ABS, to the master cylinder, and then the whole brake system should be squared away and it should be fine. But I'll keep you guys updated in the next video, show you guys how everything came out, and that's pretty much gonna be it for today's video. So on that note, thank you guys for watching. Smash that like button, comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.